So I actually always wanted to become a lawyer. So I was that kid at like 7 who knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, and like carrying around the briefcase and asking for the filing cabinet for Christmas, and at 14 researching which law school I wanted to go to. So I always wanted to be a prosecutor, I think, even early on. And then I kind of took a little bit of a detour, and I was like, well, maybe I want to do environmental law or compliance. Because like as a kid, you know, what you see mostly is in the media, and that tends to be prosecutors. So that was all I really kind of had a basis for. So I was like, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And then I was like, oh wait, there's other things. Maybe I want to do that. So in law school, it was like my second or last year of law school, I did an externship at the United States Attorney's Office, and I was like, nope, this is what I want to do. I was like, this is it. This is where my heart is. This is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a prosecutor. So, and then I was fortunate to apply for Summit County Prosecutor's Office, and they hired me, and I've been here ever since. I think the best things about being a prosecutor is that it doesn't matter what division you work in. It could be civil, it could be criminal, it could be juvenile in the child protection unit or child support. It doesn't matter what you do. Every job is focused on bettering the community, and it's a way for you to kind of give back and be part of something that is greater than just yourself. I think being able to work with people that share that same vision and that same drive just makes coming to work all the better, because you're kind of fighting for the rights of victims, you're fighting for the good of the community. And on top of that, there's all of these other things that you can do and be involved in, like all of the initiatives, like for example, you know, April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. You can be part of that, and you can go out there and you can advocate for those things, and really it's the best way to make a change in the community. So I like the saying, be the change you want to see in the world, and I feel like this is the best place to do it. Well, probably one of the most difficult things about being a prosecutor is finding that stop button and not taking it home with you. I think the types of cases that you tend to see, regardless of the division that you're in, they can be pretty heavy emotionally, mentally, and it is very difficult to sometimes disengage from that. I think that as a prosecutor, your job is to do the right thing, and you always want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, which tends to lead you to sometimes overanalyze and reanalyze and come at it from every single angle, and you keep going. Like, you'll be out with friends and they're talking about something and your mind is a million miles away, like, oh, should I have done it this way? Maybe I should have looked at it like that, you know, oh, you know what, oh my gosh, I want to say this in my closing argument, and you never have that off button because you're so entrenched in what you do. And I think that also trying to not let it affect you on a very personal level, in the sense of not becoming cynical, because, you know, with some of these cases you see a lot of the horrors that people do to each other, and it can kind of weigh on you, and you start to become a little bit cynical. So it's just always trying to remind yourself that there are good things and there are positive things, and, you know, seeing like the resilience of victims and just them coming forward and saying, you know what, this isn't going to affect me, and seeing them later on and that they have, you know, moved on with their life and they are leading very fruitful lives, I think is very rewarding. And so I think it's trying to find that balance there. No, I think that every case as a prosecutor affects you in some way. I think you kind of can't help that because of the nature of the work and what you do. So I think you always kind of put a little piece of yourself into the case, and then in turn it kind of takes a little piece of you as well. I think the sexual assault cases are always the most difficult for a lot of reasons. You know, I think being able to see some of those victims and watch them go into court and stand up to their accuser and, you know, not let that ruin their lives, I think is very gratifying. So I think those cases tend to stick with me. But I think the case that I remember by far the most, and it wasn't even a case that I was a prosecutor on, was the case that my friend had. And she, so her husband was murdered, he was assaulted and then robbed. They stole his truck and then they ran him over, and it happened in Summit County. And so she was a friend that I went to law school with, and, you know, I knew her from law school, and I let her know, you know, that if she wanted me to sit with her, I'd be more than happy to do that. And so I did get to sit with her. I wasn't involved in the prosecution of the case in any way, but it was one of those cases that it's just, you get to see it from the other side. So as a prosecutor, you know, your job is to be objective and to look at the evidence and, you know, to go through that process. But, you know, on the flip side, being able to sit with somebody and see the impact of what that has, and just how the office had dealt with everything, and then the victim advocate that was there, and just all of the things that our office does for victims, I think was very rewarding, and that certainly stuck with me. But just also to remember that, at the end of the day, that whatever side you're on, that these are people, and there are decisions that have affected lives in sometimes very horrific ways, and just to always maintain that human element, I think was very important, and that was the case that kind of did that for me. I think the biggest misconception is that prosecutors are out to win. And it doesn't matter what the cost is, that we don't see, people as people, like it's just a number or it's a defendant, and that couldn't be further from the truth. As a prosecutor, your job is to fight for justice and to make sure that justice is done. And that doesn't always mean securing a conviction or getting a win. Sometimes that means trying to find some negotiation, some common ground, and maybe that means, like on the criminal side, that this person is going to go to a diversionary program, and same thing in the juvenile side, that they'll go through diversion. With child protection, maybe it is coming up with a case plan where there is family reunification, and at the end of all of that, you've done some good, and you've kept the community in mind, but again, you're making sure that you are doing the job that you set out to do, and that is making sure that justice is done. And sometimes that also means dismissing a case and having to go to that person and say, I'm sorry, there isn't enough evidence and I can't move forward with this. So it's just always making sure that you're doing the job that you said that you were going to do, and it is not securing a conviction. It's not, I'm just out to win my case.